Hello, I'm Dr. Jason DeFalco, Superintendent of Blackstone-Millville Regional School District.
And I'm Matthew Ehrenworth, Assistant Superintendent.
And thank you very much in advance for spending a few minutes with us to talk a little bit about the fiscal 20 proposed certified budget. As you know, as we've been working through this process, the school department has put together a very comprehensive district improvement strategy. And that strategy is really anchored around 4 strategic areas. The first, ensuring that we have the right curriculum, resources, and materials in the hands of our teachers and kids. The second area is around instruction, making sure that the best planning, teaching, and learning practices are at the forefront of our work each and every day. The third area is around removing those non-academic needs or barriers that are preventing our students from being as successful as they can be in the classroom. And of course, our fourth area, the one that we cannot do without, is the support of our community and bringing our community together around the needs of our children.
This was a very lengthy process that started back in November. You can see our general process outlined. First, we developed and approved a budget timeline. We created school-based and cost center budgets. The superintendent and I reviewed each cost center budget with the cost center leader or principal. We then presented the priorities to the school committee. We held budget workshops where each cost center leader or principal presented their budgets to the school committee and answered questions regarding their requests. We then met with the towns to review the budgets and gather more information and feedback from all of the vested parties. And taking that information, we continued to modify the budget further.
I think it's important to note again that each and every item laid out in our FY20 budget is anchored back to those 4 key areas within our district improvement strategy that will help us really lift and lead the district as we move forward. And so what helped with the proposed budget that was at the very beginning of this process, as Mr. Ehrenworth mentioned, all the way till now to our certified budget, there was a series of intentional steps that were taken to get us to this place. The first being looking at existing dollars, existing resources and staff, and better aligning what we currently have with the district improvement strategy, making sure that we're spending the money we have correctly and that it's in the right places. The second area of work that was done was really around this idea of strategic replacement for those pending retirements and folks that we know are not returning to the school district next year, and looking for some cost savings through that replacement process. Also looking at reorganizing some of our services, in particular as it relates to students with special needs, and looking within that department to say how can we construct programs in district to keep kids with us in BMR and also meet their specialized needs. So we are very much committed to that process and are going through that process now. We've also looked at reorganizing, in addition to the special education department, our central offices, one of our schools, and continue with that reorganization, again, to better align services and resources to our district improvement strategy. From there, we really sat down at a deep level with our, what we refer to as cost center leaders, as Mr. Ehrenworth has mentioned, our principals, our directors, to look at prioritizing better the needs within each of our school budgets and our department budgets through supplies, materials, and resources to see what is it we really do need, what can we purchase now, what can we put out till next year, and then in further budget cycles from there. We also are looking at each one of our stipended positions to see if there are some ways we can scale back on the stipends that we are spending across district. We're doing some reorganization within our technology department to look deeper at our technological services and how we're providing support to teachers and children through those areas. And then, of course, looking at our custodial needs and resources there to see how we can better prioritize what we need now and what we need next and what we need later. So through that process, we were able to get down to our certified number, which we'll talk about in a minute. So you might be asking what is in this year's budget. So what are some of the big ticket items that are really going to help us accelerate our district improvement strategy forward in those 4 areas that we mentioned in the beginning? There are some key strategic positions and resources that we've outlined here that are in this budget. The first being the restoration of 2 classroom teachers. We know how important class size is, and we continue to remain committed to that and trying to get those numbers down. So we are asking for 2 additional classroom teachers. We are also looking for 2 instructional coaches that are going to be partnering with our teachers to assist in planning, teaching, and learning, and making sure that the best lessons are being put forward in every classroom for every kid every day. With that, we've put in a budget line for curriculum development. The curriculum is the backbone of the work that we do each and every day, and so next year we're looking at revising our literacy curriculum and making sure that our students and teachers have the cutting-edge literacy materials that they need in order to accelerate our literacy levels in all of our schools. You might be aware that this year we're working on science and making sure that our science curriculum is firmly in place, along with the lab materials and technology we need for that work. And lastly, we are looking at really strengthening our core literacy program by providing some very targeted training for our teachers that are working directly with our students that are really struggling to build their own literacy skill set. And so we are looking at having a cohort of about 10 teachers go through the Wilson Reading Program training, which will really help accelerate, again, the literacy levels, particularly reading, for our most struggling readers. And lastly, along with that, we are looking to increase the level of intervention materials we have in both mathematics and English language arts for all of our kids. And so what you will see in FY21, we've looked forward at this budget and realized that we cannot close all of our gaps and make up all of the need we have in one fiscal year. So we are looking at this in terms of a few different phases. And so in phase 2, or that next phase in FY21, you will see the ask again for additional classroom teachers at a variety of levels for some additional programming we're looking to bring forward to the district. We will see the need for 2 additional instructional coaches, some additional curriculum development work in mathematics. We've built a curriculum revision cycle. Science is this year, literacy is next year, and mathematics will be in fiscal 21. So you'll see that ask come up there. Additional support in Wilson Reading and training for teachers in that particular literacy program. Additional intervention materials, reading materials, and of course, facilities upgrades.
So what does this mean for the towns? On this slide, you will see the assessments for each town. Each assessment is broken into 4 different parts. The minimum local contribution is the amount that the state determines that each town is capable to put forward toward the school system. The exclusionary costs are the total costs of transportation for the district that are not reimbursed by the state. The additional costs are all of those costs above what is included in the exclusionary and minimum local contribution for additional services, resources, and programmatic needs. And lastly, each town has its own capital budget, which covers property assessments and investments that have gone into the specific buildings that are dedicated to each of the towns and to the buildings that are proportionately split by the towns. You can see that the total Blackstone assessment is $9,513,397, and the total Millville assessment is $3,290,019. This brings us to our total certified budget, which we are looking to gain support for, $24,771,259. Of this budget, state, federal, and additional revenues contribute $11,967,000. The additional contribution from the towns amounts to $12,803,000.
And so at this point in the process, we certainly know that this is now in the hands of both of our town council from each community and both of the finance subcommittees from each of the communities. And we just want to take a moment to thank everybody that has been part of this process. As you can see, and as you heard, it was a very thorough process, a very open process, and it remains that way. And we certainly know that when people come together to talk about finances and children, two very important topics, of children being the most important, of course, that it is a very personal type of discussion. And so we want to thank everybody engaging in that discussion with us so far through this process. And we know the process isn't finished. And we really very much look forward to having many more conversations, both at the town leadership level, but with anyone, to be frank, that has questions about how did we get to this number, what are we doing with these resources, what are the intended outcomes that we're expecting with these resources. I would be remiss if I didn't mention my own goals as superintendent for our school district, and they are directly tied and connected to the fiscal plan in terms of what we're expecting for outcomes for kids and how we're utilizing these dollars to support that process. So as Mr. Ehrenworth mentioned, we very much are looking for support behind our budget and behind the work we're doing with the children of our community. We are very grateful to be leading our school system and for the support we've had thus far, and we're really looking forward to implementing what we are considering phase 1 of our district improvement strategy moving forward. So thank you so much for your support, and we would look forward to hearing from any of you.
Thank you.